Welcome to another episode of the Decide to Try podcast with Rickie G. Rush. Today we sit down with NFL veteran Isaiah Stanback. Through injuries, career uncertainty, he had every reason to quit, but he didn't. Isaiah became a Super Bowl champion, entrepreneur, and now serves as a well-known sports analyst. All because he decided to try. Let's get into it.
We're here today with Isaiah Stanback. Now, what I love about we're just going to be regular. Yeah. Have a regular conversation today with a guy who's just not regular. This guy's very special. He's super. He has faith, hope, and community all in perspective. He understands how to navigate through difficult times. I am honored today to have on the Decide to Try podcast Isaiah Stanback. Isaiah is he's a young man with old man wisdom, and he's an older man with a young man's heart. And I am just honored to have him. I want to jump right into this podcast because most people would love to be a superstar, and in your own humble appeal, I want to say that because you've been able to accomplish something early that people dream about. And, you know, we talk about winning a Super Bowl. We talk about being an NFL quarterback. You've been with several teams. Yeah. You had a lot of reasons, to me, to quit. I thank God that a part of your journey, we call it the Jesus journey around here, is you had an opportunity to be influenced, to impact, and he's going to enjoy this. Roy's going to enjoy this because that locker room was full of people who were part of this ministry, and we were able to pour into each other. And when we hooked back up a few weeks ago, man, I was like, golly, guess who I saw? And I am so appreciative that you would take the time to stop by. And you've inspired young people throughout this country. But your story, man, if just listening to your story, I don't know where to start. So let's just talk.
Yeah.
You broke some ligaments. You tore some. You grew up with a mom and dad family. You had a solid foundation early.
Correct.
And that's important to me because when I hear about the solid foundation that you started with, storms hit, they rock houses. Correct. But man, your parents were strong in the faith.
Correct.
You started out. You could have been a knucklehead like the rest of us. You know, we're all knuckleheads. But if you're a knucklehead and you got that foundation under you, you know, I want you to talk to us about that. Yeah. I'm not used to sitting down talking to people. I'm a preacher. I stand up and talk. But I want to just have a conversation with someone. I do watch you almost every morning I wake up. And there's That's Isaiah awesome. Speaking on the NFL Network. And you're so knowledgeable. I'm like, how do they know? This just happened yesterday. And I watch you break down plays. I watch you break down offenses and defenses. And I'm going, but really?
Yeah.
And all of the years that you were playing, and I know I'm just going on right now, but there may be someone on this podcast that's never heard about this or don't understand. Football is a strategic game. Mm-hmm. You have to be smart enough to do something without getting hurt doing it, but hurt's going to come. Yep. And so you have learned how to look at something from one aspect and think, wait a minute, how could this have been different? Mm-hmm. Somebody did drugs, alcohol. You decided in your community to put an influence together to say, nah, I could do all of that. Mm-hmm. And I have been around all of that. Mm-hmm. But that foundation comes back again.
Yep, absolutely.
And so talk to me about it.
Yeah. Well, man, grew up in Seattle, Seattle, Washington. And I always say that every city has a hood, right? You know, I was in the Central District of Seattle, Washington, and my grandfather had 3 homes in the Central District. And really growing up, we kind of cycled through every house. My mom and my dad were separated, so I stayed with my mom. You know, I guess per arrangements, I was with her for 2 weeks, and then I would go to my dad every other weekend. So I had that weird dynamic of having to split time, you know, between parents. But my mom lived in the hood. My dad lived off in the suburbs.
Okay.
And all the cats I would hang out with in my neighborhood, the cats was pretty much on the block all the time. These are the cats and across the street. They were, my boy O and some of his cousins, Dion and all these guys. Their uncles were like the neighborhood trap dealers. And I just thought they had nice cars. You know what I'm saying? I had no issues with them, but I understood what they were doing. So I had to create this invisible line of being cool, cordial friends with people who weren't necessarily in line with what it is that I wanted to do. And really my faith element from both of my parents is the only thing that really kept me grounded, and kept me on the straight and narrow. I believe that it's very important to establish what your goals and aspirations are early on in life. And once I had set that goal, like many other kids, I'd imagine at that time, I wanted to be a professional athlete, right? That was not only something that I admired, something that I aspired to do, but I also understood that it was a way out.
I'm not going to let you go out that fast. No, you said you were stable, you were grounded in faith. Man, to say that at a time like this is kind of different.
Correct.
Because you're saying that, and it's just so powerful. I would pray that every young person and probably young adult would hear this, because the first detachment sounds like, oh, my parents are separated. That's okay. They had you, but their lives were their lives, and that's okay.
Correct.
But they both had the same solid foundation. I mean, when you have two people that are saying, regardless of what happens, don't leave the rock.
Yep.
And so you start going into neighborhoods, and it could have gone either way.
Easily. I mean, we
saw this stuff happen.
Yeah, we had drive-bys all the time. I mean, my mom worked, 2 jobs trying to take care of myself. My mom had my brother when she was 15, my sister when she was 16, had me 10 years later. So my mom was that prototypical, young lady in the hood that, didn't have it easy. So, single parent, all of us had different fathers. So I saw my mom struggle. I saw my mom grind, and I wanted to do everything I could to change that situation. So not only did we have the faith element from there, obviously my dad was a singles minister. So when I went to his house, it was very straight and narrow, right? It was, no secular music, anything, out of scripture. So, had the hood version of faith, and I had the bougie version of faith.
So what kept it from being strict? I mean, let's say it was strict.
Yeah.
Is strict okay?
It's okay. I mean, but understand, strict while growing up in the hood, like there's some things I had to give, right? So like I understood that I had to put on, quote unquote, a different hat when I went to my dad's house. It was just a different environment, which is perfectly fine. But I had these two lives kind of that I was living, but still were both grounded in faith, and respect, right?
Your dad still living?
Yes. Yeah, I have both my parents. Both of my parents, blessed to have that. But yeah, so growing up in that neighborhood, just wanted to grind. Everybody was grinding. Everybody was playing sports, but I had aspirations of being a pro. And I understood that to be on that path meant that I was going to have to make hard decisions to not be, I could be around, but I couldn't be in and with everybody else that didn't have those aspirations, right? So when everybody else was doing drugs, when everybody else was hanging out and going and drinking alcohol and all the other things and going out and banging on the block, I not only was I scared of my mom, but I understood that those things were only going to be distractions. And if I am walking on a path, anybody, right? But at that time, for me, I was walking on a path to trying to become a professional athlete. I was never, and to this day, I still refuse to allow outside influences to take me off the path that I have set for myself. It's easy because they're along the journey. I'm a firm believer that the devil can only work through things. I don't think he can work directly to us. I think he can work through, through other things to get to us. And I think that those mines and those potholes and those, hills, bumps in the road, like those are all things and distractions to get you distracted, because that's the only way he can get to you, right? Is to get you through other methods. So I was diligent upon remaining steadfast through all those things, and it allowed for me to stay black and white and make firm decisions.
So many of us are athletes, and sports sometimes is our way out of it.
Yeah.
You had so many reasons, man. This being the Decide to Try podcast. you had to make a decision. You keep talking about those decisions, man. That stuff is right in your face.
Yeah.
And you decide, okay, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it was difficult.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the downfall.
Mm.
Now, at the end of the story, and some of it, you end up.
Yeah,
talk about where you end up.
I'll fast forward.
But this journey, let's do this journey for a minute.
So obviously, growing up playing baseball, basketball, football, track. Those were my 4 sports that I played. Baseball was the best sport of all of them. I played baseball from the time I was 6 years old. I didn't touch a football until I was 13. So baseball being my primary sport, when I was getting ready to graduate from high school, I actually was about to get drafted in the first round of the MLB, and I turned down the draft in MLB. Understand that was the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life.
Who inspired you to be an athlete, mom or dad?
They both were athletes. I was just around it. You know what I mean? I was just around it. And I mean, I had people that watching sports, I just fell in love with sports. And then, my brother and sister were so much older than me. I saw a little bit of them, but then they were gone to college, so all I had was, guys like Sean Kemp growing up, in Seattle, King Griffey Jr., those are the guys that I watched, and I wanted to try to emulate. I didn't have a relationship with them, but I tried to emulate them. So from the time I was 17 and I turned down the MLB draft, the reason why I turned it down, the thing that I worked for my whole life, the thing I was most passionate about is because I had made a commitment to go to college and play football. So getting that phone call from the Mariners representative and him telling me, we're about to offer you over $1 million, and me easily telling him no, and him saying, well, you want to talk to your parents about this? And I was like, no, because I've been taught about commitment, and I've already committed to go play college. And I knew that had I taken the baseball route that was put in front of me, everything I had worked for now, this is my dream, that I wasn't going to be allowed to go to college.
So you're like the second African-American black quarterback.
Yep.
At
University of Washington.
At Washington.
Yep.
So now it's coming together. Baseball, that strong arm in baseball,
yep,
that sharp aim of baseball, played a lot into.
Huge.
Whoa.
That's why when I went out for football my first time in the hood for tryouts, I'm sitting up on top of the hill because my father wouldn't allow for me to play football. The one time my mom actually gave my dad permission to control my outcome. I was sitting up there watching my cats in the hood. They were at football practice. I'm sitting on top of the hill, and the coach, calls me down. Is like, why aren't you practicing? And I was like, well, my dad won't let me. So I went back, had an argument with my dad, about it. And he said, well, you're going to do whatever you want to do anyway. That was my yes to football. So I touched football my 8th grade year, and my mom made me sit out my freshman year, and then I started playing my sophomore year. So I really played 1 year Little League, 3 years of high school ball, and was one of the top recruits. But to your point, when I went to University of Washington, after having made that declaration that I wasn't going to do baseball professionally, I was all in at this point. My chips were all in on football. I did baseball my freshman year. I did football, and I also ended up doing track in college. But I went through a lot of turmoil trying to become the second black quarterback. I faced a lot of racism.
Did you know that's what it was when you were going through it?
Absolutely. I knew exactly what it was. And
you just wanted to keep trying.
I had to keep trying. And it was so bad to the point where I grew up with one of those moms that was like, raising young men, crying wasn't allowed. My mom didn't allow you to cry. Like, you get hurt, I look to the sideline, my mom's like, you better not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had one of those type of moms, right? So when I call my mom out of frustration because of everything that I'm facing, I couldn't bear it anymore. I couldn't bear that weight, and I was crying. She knew what it was. So luckily I had some great leaders within the organization that I could lean on who have been through, a lot of those times, who have been there to mentor Warren Moon. So Warren Moon came and took me out to lunch and provided me a completely different perspective. Because a lot of times when you're going through those difficult times, if you don't have another lens to look through, you think that you're going through the worst thing in the world. So having Warren Moon, even in that brief moment, be in my life and present me his experience, it allowed for me to not only have a different lens and a different perspective, but it gave me a hope that I didn't have, that I could persevere through it because he's been through it. So going through that, and then following that, injuries. I had a bunch of injuries.
In college,
I had one major injury in college my senior season. After overcoming all the racism, overcoming all the things that becoming a starting quarterback in college, being a second black in the university's history. We finally got in the path of getting the university into winning ways again, and then I got hurt halfway through my senior season. So everything I had overcome and worked through and everything I had sacrificed in terms of not going pro baseball, all this stuff was, that weight of the world was on me. And then to blow, I literally had an injury called a Liz Frank injury. And it's literally you tear all the ligaments in the middle of your midfoot. So they had to completely restructure my foot, had to relearn how to move my toes, relearn how to walk, all the stuff. And that was the senior year trying to go into the NFL after I had already literally, said no to my number one dream, which was baseball.
Right. So you said no to baseball. You decided to try football. You get hurt at football. Football is over now because you don't overcome a broken foot.
You're not that. No.
Your whole weight, you're shifting all that stuff on grass and AstroTurf.
Yep.
So now it's over.
Yep. That's what everybody would think.
And so what?
Yeah, that's what everybody would think. So sitting in that doctor's office, the doctor told me it was going to be 9 to 12 months. 9 to 12 months in November.
That's a year.
That's a year when the draft is in April. So last time I did math, that was 6 months. 6 months away from getting drafted. Not even the combine, not even the bowl games, not even the senior bowls, not all the things that you need to do in order to be viewed as a high, valuable draft pick. I was not allowed to do any of those things because I was rehabbing. So that was the toughest time for me. That's where my faith was truly tested. If it wasn't tested with trying to overcome racism, it was definitely tested by being literally what I perceived at the time at the bottom of the barrel. You're rehabbing. You can't do the thing that you've always loved to do. You can barely walk. You're a shadow of yourself. You don't have an identity outside of, sports, and now that's taken away. So you truly feel like you are nothing at that time. And if you don't have faith, which is all I could lean on at that time, then I would have been, yeah.
And in a world where we're told not to cry by yourself, did you ever feel like?
Oh yeah, I let it out. I was hurting.
So is depression and being low, is that real?
Funny you bring that up. I didn't believe in depression.
Neither did I.
I didn't believe in depression. Real talk. I did not believe in depression. After that injury, I fully understood what that was, and I'm so much more empathetic to that now.
We're going to get back to this. There's a kid maybe that's watching. I hope maybe the second time around this podcast, someone says to their young person that's playing sports or something, hey, I want you to hear this testimony, this story of Isaiah Stanback. This guy, we know he's won a Super Bowl, been a part of a Super Bowl team and all of that. But his story, one day, he thought that life was about over. And if you're listening right now and you're a young person, and I'm not going to put it on young people because I understood that as an adult. There's a kid, there's an adult, there's a person watching that says, I think it's just a mindset. But when you go through that adversity, it becomes a reality. Yeah. And you have sometimes these people who said, no, I'll be with you through thick and thin. They just don't know how thick it can get.
Yes, yeah.
At the point where this is it. You bypassed one dream, decided to try something else, hurt there. Now you're done.
Yeah.
And you get better with a surgery.
Yeah.
You go through rehab. Why did you go through rehab? You decided to try it. Yeah. You didn't quit. It hurt.
Yeah.
But so
I was told by majority of the NFL teams that this is an injury that you won't overcome. And at that time, I took that as not only a challenge to me personally, but I took that as a challenge to my faith, because I was like, you don't know who I'm rocking with. You know what I mean? So I took that as a double challenge. And the thing that made me great as an athlete, the competition side of it, they kicked that in. They kicked that into overdrive. So I went to doing everything that I possibly could control, rehabilitation-wise, and I wanted to disprove everything that they said that I couldn't do. And then I found my way not only getting back healthy, but getting drafted by the Cowboys, having played only 6 games my senior year in the top of the 4th round. And I got drafted top of the 4th at a position I never played before, with by one of the best organizations in the league.
And now you're a Cowboy.
Now I'm a Cowboy.
Now this is where you're going to retire.
Yeah,
because you kind of think that.
Yeah, you love this. You love to be able to say that.
On this journey.
Yep.
And now what?
Yeah. So now I'm with the Dallas Cowboys, 2007, and I am literally trying to still get healthy while being thrusted into the highest level of competition in the sport that I've decided to commit to, while trying to get healthy.
What was your position?
I got drafted as a receiver. I never played it.
Wait, you went from quarterback, that's right,
to
receiver.
Yeah, I got drafted as a quarterback while injured with one of the worst foot injuries you could possibly have, while still rehabbing at the highest level of competition. And then thrown in there, it was like pretty much try to swim. Because we're not going to teach you how to figure this out. You got to figure it out yourself. So I had a coach, but he wasn't really guiding me. He wasn't focused on me. I wasn't the premier guy. So I had to figure out a lot myself. So I had to grind. And I had to meet with guys after practice. And I had to follow guys and watch and do everything that I possibly could to become relevant again. Go back and watch old college film of myself, even though it's not the same position. Right. But just trying to remember who I was, because I had lost who I was. I had been so far removed from that. But the grind started. And I got back, and literally after I overcame the foot injury, in the midst of that, I started playing. You would think that story's over. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, boom, finally I made it. Literally, I ended up getting hit and tearing my shoulder. And I ended up dislocating subluxing in my shoulder. The doctors told me that, you can hang it up this year, or you can play through it, and it's going to be very painful. And I was like, I just spent the last 12 months rehabbing. There's no way I'm about to not play my rookie year. So I played my whole rookie year, my shoulder popping in and out, dislocating pretty much every single day, practice, sleep, whatever it was, middle of games. I got surgery after the season. After that season, I, again, used the whole offseason nursing that back to health, went out, played the next season, tore right through that same surgery that I had on my shoulder. So everything that I had just built up, rehabbed, tore right through that same surgery as if it never happened. So for a second consecutive year, I dealt with the same pain, the same frustration, same lack of confidence, all the things. Again, to your point, could have easily shut it down. Could have easily taken that as a sign as, hey, this just isn't going your way. Like 3 straight years of surgeries, 4 surgeries already, 5 surgeries at this point. You probably should just shut it down. Decided not to, decided to keep grinding, played that whole year, came back, got rehab, came out again. I'm healthy again. I tear my knee. I had a lateral meniscus tear in my knee. Shortly after the Cowboys indoor facility that went down, we were practicing at a local high school and tore my knee. Simple play, nothing crazy, just breaking down, felt something weird, knee balloons up, now you need surgery again. So now I'm 6 surgeries in. And I'm 6 surgeries in, and I'm just now hitting my 3rd year in the league.
6 surgeries.
Yeah.
So now, did you get drafted, traded? Did you just?
I got fired.
Oh.
Yeah, Jerry Jones got tired of me taking all his surgery money, I guess. So by this time, I had been through it. I was still trying to figure out who I was. So I got fired. I got picked up. Next phone call I get was from Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick, obviously the amazing coach, Hall of Fame coach from New England Patriots, calls me, and the first thing he asked me is, can you still throw the ball? So Dallas Cowboys didn't want me at quarterback, but Bill Belichick, who has Tom Brady on his roster, wanted me at quarterback and told me that he was going to draft me had it not been for the Cowboys. So I go out there, literally after the phone call, I go start throwing the ball again after having not thrown for 3 consecutive years. Right. Now I'm trying to remember who I was as a quarterback while still helping out at receiver in practice. Oh, and I was on practice squad. I had to earn my way onto the roster. But after my first week there, he pulled me aside and told me that he needs me to catch up on the playbook and that I will be playing. I'll be in the quarterback meetings as well as starting at receiver. So I finally had 1 year. This is my 3rd year in the league now. I had 1 year of no injuries. Ended up leaving there, going back home to Seattle, my 4th year, which is your contract year, where this is what you try to get yourself in position for, right? The big payday that you never really have to work a day in your life again. And I'm back home in Seattle. Everything's going awesome. I'm healthy again, no injuries. And then in the middle of training camp practice, I tear my Achilles. And at that point, at that moment, I realized this is bigger than me. Yeah. At that point, it was instant. I knew what it was when I did it without ever even thinking about what an Achilles was. I knew I had tore it. I knew what that meant for my career. It was a hard truth to accept. I knew it wasn't the end of my story, but I knew it was the beginning. It was the sowing of a seed for the next chapter of my life. So from that point forward, I did everything I could to get back healthy. You try hard not to ask God why. In that moment, at that time, I had to start learning how to ask God what. Right? I had always asked why. Like, why is this happening to me? Why are you every time I get back healthy, you knock me back down? Like, why is this happening? Right? I'm doing everything you asked me to do. But I changed my perspective, and I started asking, okay, not why. All right, I get it. All right, this is my seventh surgery now, God. Like, all right, like, obviously you don't want me to be amazing at this sport, right? Like, so what do you want me to learn? As soon as I asked that question, everything else changed. I ended up getting let go by Seattle during that time. Got picked up by the Giants. I was actually on practice squad with the Giants. Had to work my tail off, and then we ended up winning a Super Bowl. Right. And it was almost like you made it. Like, you passed the test. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. It was like I
Super Bowl. That's it.
Yeah, like I put you through all this just to bring you here.
And had you not decided to try after that first foot injury, you would not have experienced the Super Bowl, which is like, it's like heaven for people trying to get, that's
the ultimate.
And now you're celebrating. You're Super Bowl champion. Yep. Your mom's proud of the foundation. Your dad's proud of the foundation. Your brothers and sisters are proud of the foundation. So now you're gonna retire as a Giant for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you think so? You go out there, you compete, you do everything you can. Sometimes it just doesn't roll your way. I end up getting let go there, and then I go to Jacksonville. At this point in time, my now wife, we had a youngin at that time, so we had our first baby girl, and I'm playing my third offensive position in the NFL with my fifth team. So it's just madness, right? Just bouncing around at this point. And I'm healthy, everything's good, but I end up still getting fired. And the day that I got fired is the same day that I found out that we were having twins. So I found out we're having twins. 2 hours later, I get fired. And it was the easiest I'm walking away from this journey that you can ever imagine. Because as soon as they told me I was let go, I wasn't even sad. And I was so ready for the next chapter, even though I didn't even know what the next chapter was. I realized that everything that God had put me through, everything that I had to try to overcome, everything that I was able to overcome, that I was prepared for whatever it was that he was going to have for me next. And from that, I went back home, and at that time I had already started a business called Steadfast Fitness and Performance, which comes from 1 Corinthians 15:58. And I built community. I built community. I used my experiences in sports. I used my, the hurdles that I had to overcome. Steadfast was a very important word for me because of everything that I had been through. But I also realized that everybody has a story.
I love that. Be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. Absolutely. Foot surgery, Achilles, torn the shoulder, not being put on the things, traded, fired, and you're still steadfast. Absolutely. You didn't lose your character. And, I don't know when it was we first met, but you still have your glow, you have your smile. Yeah. You have your faith in God. You are still going to church, not just being a Christian young man, because that's kind of odd, and your success to end up in church on Sunday mornings. And I love that. I love the fact that it was be ye steadfast. And now this thing goes full circle. And now you become the voice describing what other people don't quite understand.
Correct.
You're like the preacher to the audience. You're having to break down the word, break down the play, make people interested, make them understand.
I never thought about it that way.
That's right. You are the TV pastor, man. You are. And when I get up on Mondays or after games and I look up and I see you even now, okay, break it down to me, Isaiah. What happened? Why did this person not get drafted? Why did that person not get drafted? What happened to this? It was such a perfect play. No, it was not nonsense. And you'll say, no, see that route that guy ran? If he had thrown it just 2 yards ahead, they would have. And I'm like, God, why didn't I see that? Because I'm not the pastor.
That's awesome. That's funny.
You had to be Moses. You had to spend some time in the wilderness for God to say, okay, now I need you to lead some other people. And it's not leading them necessarily with a football. It's giving them a path through a wilderness called broken legs, broken families. I think the path through the wilderness was a broken shoulder. You could have lost some children. There's a lot. There's a lot that could have been stolen, but you decided to be steadfast. And I'm just helping another. Somebody may not like sports, but they need to understand that we are always in some kind of race. The enemy's always competing against us. So what are you doing like now?
Yeah, so now I'm still running Steadfast Fitness and Performance, and I'm also in the broadcast media space. So my wife got tired of me calling out what I saw on TV in regards to what's happening in football games, and she told me to go try. Right? She said, just go try it, just go see. So I made a commitment to not only her, but I made a commitment to myself just to see whatever. I had been so engulfed with trying to build the community of Steadfast that I had put my self aspirations to the side. So this was the first time I committed back to myself to say, okay, let's see what else God has for me. And I went out to a speakers bureau through the NFL program, learned how to present in front of public. From there, I went to I did a broadcast media camp through the NFL. And from there, I had opportunity.
Wait, that's a lot. That's 4 years of college. How long did all this stuff take you?
No, this was quick. These were like weekend little workshops.
Man.
Yeah, so weekend workshops. But it was funny because the opportunity that I got was actually the boss who runs all the media for the Dallas Cowboys. Through somebody I had met at one of these workshops, they connected us and said, hey, are you interested in doing a podcast for the Cowboys? I was like, at this point, again, I made the commitment. I was like, okay, God, yes, I'll try it. You know what I'm saying? I'll try it. He was like, yeah, well, funny thing is, the boss who runs the media for the Cowboys, he heard you speak at church.
Wow.
And
he goes back to that faith.
Yeah, he heard you speak at church, and he wanted to connect with you there, but there were some people that was talking to you, but that's how the connection happened. And from there, started doing a podcast. This was actually during the COVID year, so we're all sitting in front of our computers at home remotely. And I started doing podcasts for the Dallas Cowboys, and that one podcast turned into end up doing 7 shows on the Cowboys platform. From doing those 7 shows on the Cowboys platform, including podcasts, pregame shows, postgame shows, other content for them, I started doing a CBS pregame show here locally in Dallas. From that, did the workshop again through the NFL, and I had opportunity to go work at NFL Network on Good Morning Football. So now that along with radio, so I've been blessed to be presented these opportunities, but it all started by me just saying, yeah, I'll try.
You just decided to try. And now, your show is so inspiring. And it's not just your show, it's your sincerity, it's your smile. I don't know, I'm a dude, okay? We're dudes. But a dude can say to another dude, man, keep that light glowing, man. It's the smile. Sometimes when you can watch, because those of us like me, I just leave my channel on the NFL Network. Not all of you Christians out there judge me. I mean, I look at NFL. It's stuck. I may not be on your Christian Broadcast Network. I don't, but I love so sometimes I turn it up because I see you light it up.
Yeah.
I mean, because you just keep it down. I'm waiting on some highlights and all, and I see you and of course the other analyst there, and then you'll light it up and I go, oh, dude, let me say it. And I'll rewind it to see what you said. So keep that light, man. That light came from a lot of pain. That light came from your own darkness. I think God lit your candle a long time ago. And he didn't let you know that he was lighting a candle, but your candle was a pilot. Yeah. And your pilot was that's the thing inside the heater. Mm-hmm. People turn the hot water heater on, it's boom, and it gets hot. But there's a little pilot light that always stays on. Yeah. And you have always kept that on. And to your mom, your dad, your man of God, the people who have always been drawn to you, the fire was always lit. God never, whatever it was, he never allowed it to blow it out, man. And I just want to give you some props for that and to thank you for that. And that's why to do this podcast, I thought, okay, Isaiah, I don't do podcasts, you know, but back in the day, we did the what in hell do you want when heaven has all you need kind of radio thing. But today, because of the light that I have witnessed you do on that, I thought, Isaiah, let's sit down and have a conversation about it.
I appreciate it.
And so if you can inspire an old guy like me who's been preaching from the mountaintop for years, I promise you that God has some other young people not looking at you now in a field, but they're looking at you through a lens and saying, where does that light come from, that smile? And they may have knocked you off your feet, but they didn't knock your teeth out. So you're still confident in your smile. You're still confident. And that does work. That does work. So we're going to play a quick game right quick before I let you go. This game is, making the decision on the Decide to Try podcast. I'm going to throw a word out, a couple of words out, and you're going to tell me what your decision would be. Okay, ready?
Right, let's do it.
Now you're gonna have time to think about it.
All right, bet.
It's gonna go fast. All right, here we go. Baseball or football?
Oh man, baseball.
Already?
Yeah.
Okay, ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Okay, elevators or stairs?
Elevators. Lazy.
The hood or the suburbs?
Oh, the burbs now.
Cars or trucks?
Trucks.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
City life or country life?
Ooh, that's hard. City first.
Okay.
This side of the country.
College cut or dreadlocks?
Oh man, dreadheads all day.
Boy or girl?
Oh, you got hit me with that one. Oh crap, girl.
Okay,
Girl.
so you're a father.
I am.
How protective? Do you have a daughter?
I have 2 daughters.
How protective?
2 daughters and a son.
How protective are you of your daughters?
I'm very protective of my daughters, obviously.
Okay, I'm going to ask the big S question.
Yeah.
Are you strict?
Oh yes, very much so. Very much, but not like crazy.
Full circle.
Not crazy though. So, I give my daughters and my son as well. I give them information. I don't filter information. I give them as much as they can handle so that they can make informed decisions.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because, the reality is they're not going to be inside the walls of my house forever. So I can protect them to a certain point, but they need to be able to make sound decisions, and I need to be able to guide them, right, as they make those decisions. So I am strict. I try to make things as black and white as possible.
How old are they? How old are the girls?
My oldest daughter's 13, and then I have boy-girl twins that are 11.
This is the year you get
Oh my
strict.
goodness, I know.
And but that's beautiful, and I thank God, and I want to continue to cover you in prayer, man, because now you've been tempted in a lot of different areas to quit. But when you're tempted to stop parenting and you realize you can't, you just have to withstand it. Parents, I believe, stress more and sometimes are attacked in blood pressures and other depressions because there's that year between 13 and 19 where there's a whole different something happening. Even God, when he created man, he skipped right over teenagers. He could have said, let us create teenagers. He made
right
a
past
man
that.
and woman. Man, look, I will leave that for a human to deal with. But I appreciate that. I appreciate your humbleness. I appreciate your staying true to your foundation, for being a Christian and an athlete and a father and a husband and an analyst and a world opinion. And now, see, I just deemed you as the pastor of football.
Yeah, exactly.
You're having to break down the word to people who would not necessarily even be interested. And sometimes I guarantee you, they don't want football. They just want to see what this guy has to say. And that's the platform I think God gives us. All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for giving us a chance today to jump into the life of someone who's been so impactful on this Decide to Try podcast. And if you don't mind, we'd like to end the podcast today with a prayer.
Yes, sir.
Because, the only advertisement that we really have for the world as the light and to ask God to use us to intercede.
Yep.
I notice every time when you guys are on the I guess I probably know more about Good Morning Football than
You good.
but I notice there's always a break for the sponsors to come in and
sure.
pay for the show. And we just want to stop right now and thank the sponsor of this show for paving a way and paying the cost for us to do what we do and have fun. And I pray that maybe someone will listen to this podcast, subscribe to it, send it out to other people, maybe like it. I don't know how you get people drawn to it. I'm not big into that. But whatever it is that says, hey, go check that out.
Yeah.
We're going to thank our sponsor right now for that, all right? Hey,
Love it.
bro. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for this opportunity to grow. We just heard from the pastor of the network. Now, Lord, there are some people that may think I'm poking fun at that, and I'm not. I just want to put these words of the mission to tell people good news, and it comes through different ways. I thank you for Isaiah. I thank you for his family. I thank you for his past. As crazy as it was, I thank you that he today has modeled how to try and never quit, even though quitting is an option that we don't know we could take. I thank you, God, that you allowed depression, discouragement to stand right in his face. And he said, no, I'm going to continue to walk with the God who got me here. And I pray that everyone listening today, something is touched in their hearts. In your name we pray, and in the name of Jesus, we thank you because Isaiah Stanback has never stopped on his Jesus journey. It started in the hood. It's going to end in the kingdom. Amen. All right.